Well, there have been humans traveling this ground that we call Springdale for as long as humans have been in the Ozarks, from the first prehistoric indigenous peoples until we get to the Osage Indians, who claimed this region that's now Springdale as a hunting ground. So what's drawing these people here millions of years ago, thousands of years ago, hundreds of years ago? It's the same thing that draws people here today, the natural resources. The fact that the area is a good place to live and work. So we know the Osage Indians were here at various times of the year for hunting and gathering food. The first permanent settlement dates to around 1840. Now we know from land records that there were a few scattered settlers here in the 1830s. Most of them harken back to the Fitzgerald family. But the first settlement that we can pinpoint was a group of folks that all shared the primitive Baptist faith. So they moved into this area, 3 or 4 families, scattered families, and set up a church. And the church was called the Shiloh Regular United Baptist Church of Christ. So over time, the community just took its name from that church. So before Springdale, the established community was known as Shiloh. That's a name that was kept until after the Civil War. Shiloh started out as just a kind of a sleepy little village. It had a little bit of a boom time during the time of the Butterfield stagecoach, which came outside on the outskirts of Shiloh, didn't come into Shiloh. But the Butterfield stagecoach led to a little bit of an economic boom for the settlement. That all was dashed with the Civil War. From 1861 to 1865, the little settlement of Shiloh was pretty much abandoned and much of it destroyed. After the war, people come back, we establish a post office, get big enough that we need a post office, and lo and behold, there's already a town in Arkansas named Shiloh with a post office. So the town has to come up with another name. After much discussion, Putmanville, Huffmastertown, Holcombtown. The thought was to name the town after one of the founding leaders. Couldn't agree on a name for the town, so it was settled upon. A woman named Sarah Reed Meek came up with a suggestion: Springs in the Dale. Springs hearkening to Spring Creek, which is what had been drawing people here for as long as people have been coming, the natural resources around Spring Creek, which flows through our current downtown area. So Springs in the Dale, Dale referring to the rolling fields and hillsides and prairies around us. So in 1871, we established a post office with the name of Springdale. So we've been Springdale ever since. And the town was incorporated in 1878 with Joseph Holcomb as the first mayor. The railroad's arrival in 1881 is what really led to a boom time for Springdale. Springdale's always been an agricultural hub, a center for farm families to come in, bring their produce into market, do their shopping, do their business. So the agricultural roots of Springdale really took off with the arrival of the train in 1881. Now the area farmers have a way to get their produce to the larger markets. Means expanded farming, means the town grows. The apple industry was a driving force in not just Springdale, but the entire region. In Springdale and surrounding area, apples, peaches, grapes were huge. Later, tomatoes and beans. So you have this economic boom that's really riding the wave of the fruit industry, the apple industry, into the 1920s. And then through a series of unfortunate events over several years, the apple industry declines due to bad weather, disease, increased competition from other parts of the country where apples are being established. So you kind of have this downturn of the apple industry by the late 1920s, and what is waiting to take its place? The poultry industry. All farmers around here had a few chickens just for their home production, but the area was poised for the poultry industry to rise. In Springdale, you had visionary businessmen such as Jeff Brown, who was really a leader in the poultry industry from the aspect of feed formulation and growing healthy chicks. So Jeff Brown, of course, the George family, the Tyson family, they're all here in Springdale because of the agricultural natures of their businesses. And why Springdale became a center for the poultry industry, one big reason is because the bankers in town were willing to lend money to these young poultry farmers, or young in the business poultry farmers. The lack of a class structure in Springdale, the rural nature of Springdale's society, even in town, even the bankers, many of the bankers had grown up on a farm. So the bankers are used to having coffee downtown Springdale with these farmers. They're anxious to give money to their friends to start their friends' poultry industry. So that's a big reason that Springdale is still home of Tyson Foods, the world's largest protein producer, and George's an equally large poultry producer. So you go into the 1930s, 40s, 50s, Springdale is enjoying this boom that's driven by now the poultry industry. With that industry come allied businesses. Springdale has always been a very business-friendly community. So what you start to see in the 60s, we start to have a labor shortage, so much so that we still are maintaining a migrant labor camp that was started in the late 1940s to bring in migrant workers to farm the crops, to pick the crops. You end up with more people moving here from other parts of the country, other parts of the world. Again, why are they moving to Springdale? For the same reason those first indigenous people traveled here thousands of years ago. The resources. It's a good place to live and work and raise a family. So today, Springdale is, I would arguably say, the most diverse city in Northwest Arkansas, in Washington County. Now, the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville certainly draws people from all over the world. But as far as people moving to a town to live and work and establish themselves, I think Springdale leads the way in diversity. And we're blessed to have this cultural richness today. We have the largest Marshallese population. People from the Marshall Islands live in Springdale more than any other place in the continental U.S. We have a large Latinx population, smaller Asian population, but all of that diversity lends to this richness and this economic vitality that we see in Springdale today, and we hope we'll see into the future. What's next for Springdale? Of course, the downtown revitalization has really taken off with the establishment of the Razorback Regional Greenway, that bike pedestrian trail from Fayetteville to Bella Vista that runs right through downtown Springdale. We've seen that lead to spark an interest in revitalizing the downtown. The fact that Tyson Foods has moved a lot of their offices downtown. Restaurants are coming back downtown. So we're very excited about the downtown revitalization. I'm hearing that the future of Springdale, especially the downtown area, is looking toward being a technology center for a lot. We have lots of businesses, big businesses in Northwest Arkansas that perhaps Springdale, from being at one time an agricultural hub, perhaps now Springdale will become a technological hub, a technology hub.